Thanks to Squarespace for making this video possible. It's an all-in-one platform for building a beautiful website. It's got great analytics and it's just really easy to use. So thanks for sponsoring this video, making it possible. Welcome to First Fill. I'm Phil. I'm going to fill you in about whiskey. And welcome to our next session of old peaty whiskey versus young peaty whiskey. And this one's a little bit different than the last one. This is more about a core range whiskey, the Ardbeg 5-year-old, a whiskey that's quite available now. It came out, I think, last year or the year before, and you can buy it at most bottle stores now. But it's young. It's 5 years old. 5 years old, and with an age statement of 5 years old. So it's had a lot of buzz online. And this is from the festival in Islay that they have every year, where they basically release all sorts of like interesting, unique bottlings to celebrate that festival. So again, we've got Henwood here. He's going to help us through it. He's brought the bottle. I've brought the 5, and
so this is called the Ardbeg, a bit of a play on words with the Ardbeg. Ardbeg because it smells like a bog. That's what it's called Ardbeg. This is a bourbon cask blended with a ex-Manzanilla sherry cask, and the Wee Beastie is a bourbon cask. The age difference between the two is not dramatic. This is some sources online say the Ardbeg is 10, some sources say it's 12, but the Wee Beastie is an age statement of 5 years old. Now, what is the ABV of the Wee Beastie?
it is quite punchy. It's 47.4.
47.4. So that is definitely much punchier than their standard release.
Yeah.
The Ardbeg 10, shall I say? And this Ardbeg is a 52.1%. This was released as a special bottling for the Faisial Islay Festival, the Islay Malt Festival. So this was released in 2013, and when it was released, a lot of fanfare came with it because it was freaking delicious. So yeah, to highlight different casks, but also age, what happens to the peat and the flavor profiles is the more expensive. I mean, the Ardbeg is currently, what did I say before, 300 pounds?
Yeah.
You can buy it right now for 300 pounds, and the Wee Beastie is, how much is that, New Zealand?
It's about $85 New Zealand, I think.
Yeah, so that's about 45, 50 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess comparing to see what they're like. But look at the color difference though.
That was the first thing I noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's straw pale, and then you've got, that is dark.
Dark haze, look at that. I mean, that's what you get, double the age plus a different cask influence, bourbon and Manzanilla on the Ardbeg here. But yeah, cheers, let's get nosing.
Cheers.
You can really smell the new make on the 5, the Wee Beastie.
You can.
You know that, I mean, I interpret the new make as the unripe apricot, slight banana and passion fruit notes, like a sharpness.
Yeah.
Almost like a steely sharpness. You can definitely smell that. And then you get the Ardbeg. What envelops your nose is like a treacle. Like a thick brown sugar syrup.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting that sort of almost the top of a caramel slice,
yeah,
or something like this. I mean, in comparison, I think both whiskies sort of smell quite different now, but we are in a lane of like Islay peated whiskies, right?
Yeah.
So like, obviously both of these, if we put a bourbon on the table, it's going to be quite different. Smelling these two, yeah, I'm getting like a lot of, I don't know if this is the age, and I know that sharp spiritiness, but it's almost like the barley's almost come through more, like there's sort of like a, maybe the cask hasn't had as much time to influence the spirit, so it's more, you're actually getting that original barley or barley sugar or something like that.
When you say the barley sugar, I interpret that as like a yeasty sourdough.
Yeah.
Like the bready.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's literally what it is the barrel hasn't had a chance to influence it enough. And you're probably asking yourself, if that's the case, why are you releasing a 5? There's a couple of reasons for that, is because old whiskey doesn't mean better. And I get that. And we haven't tried it yet, but young peated whiskey will be a robust, fiery experience. And that's why they called it the Wee Beastie, because it's a little beast.
Yeah.
Whether or not they needed that,
yeah,
because they've already got the 10, the Ardbeg 10.
I sort of put it into the same category as, say, some of those burger places, so some of those burger joints that just have really greasy, fatty burgers. And they're not saying, they're not trying to pretend, look, this is no healthy burger and this is not where you go to lose weight. Like, they're just embracing it.
I thought burgers were healthy. I've been living wrong.
Well, sometimes you get like, McDonald's brings out a salad and you're like, you don't go to McDonald's for a salad,
Salad? You don't win friends with salad.
Exactly. And so they're leading into, like, if you're going to drink a peaty whiskey, they're leading to, okay, let's just make it sharp, let's just make it smoky.
Yeah.
And that's what you're going to get.
Yeah.
And also think as well, just what you're saying about the marketing, that makes me think of, I wonder, maybe they were doing quite well listening to some of the sort of the groundswell going on online, where a lot of people are getting quite annoyed with non-age statements, sort of saying like, why can't we know what age it is?
Yeah.
Why are they not brave enough to put an age statement on it? And then
right.
they come out with a 5, which is quite unusual, really. Like, there's not many 5-year-olds.
No. I mean, it's just legal whiskey from 3. So to release it at 5, I mean, look.
So it makes it unique almost by doing something that most distilleries would be like, no, we're not going to do that because people are going to look at it. They'll look at the lower number and go, no, why would no?
So yes, I'm a little bit skeptical and cynical of it, but at the same time, I get why they're doing it because some people do love that young, ballsy peat whiskey. So I reckon we try. I reckon we sip.
Yeah.
All right, there we
Cheers.
go.
I just want to quickly say thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. I've been using Squarespace for over 5 years. They're absolutely fantastic. And there's quite a few reasons for that. The first one, you can get your own domain when you set up a website. Secondly, the websites are beautiful, easy to navigate. It just looks good. You don't need to have a design background. Back in the day, I used to use Dreamweaver and tried to dabble with the code. I was just all too confused and I just gave up. Squarespace is easy as setting up a social media page. Thirdly, you can set up an online store. I actually do this myself. I sell prints online where people buy prints. And some of you might know that they actually have an Instagram account just for landscape photography. It's like another side hobby of mine. And I have a website where people can buy these landscape photos. And I've had people who have bought these photos and put them on like one whole wall of their office somewhere around the world somewhere. So go to the link www.squarespace.com/firstfill whiskey to get 10% off when you sign up with Squarespace. And you can share this link with people as well. They can use it too. So share the link. I highly recommend it. And thanks again, Squarespace, for sponsoring this video. Back to the show.
So the Ardbeg, what makes it special, I mean, the age itself is not old. What makes it special is the cask. So getting a Manzanilla cask is by any standard is not easy. I mean, it's almost unfair because special edition, extremely rare cask, Manzanilla. They're both bourbon based, but Manzanilla, probably Manzanilla finish or maybe some Manzanilla matured and they mix them.
So what is a Manzanilla?
Manzanilla is a form of sherry.
Yeah.
It's a much richer sherry.
So it's different
Spanish.
from Oloroso. It's a different region.
Different from Oloroso, different different region, different style.
Okay.
Different style. So it's much more syrupy than your Oloroso. Oloroso is actually quite a relatively dry sherry. Manzanilla is much more syrupy. Mouthfeel is a bit more potent.
I'm really enjoying this. Whereas this is like, it's quite rich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that also is the fact that you don't need much in a sip to really get that flavour going.
Yeah. It's long and it's sitting there. It just, your whole mouth has just got flavour and all sorts of things going on.
I imagine this is what medieval warriors smelt like after a siege. You know, oil, smoke, sweat, salt.
Spanish ships and English ships battling each other out in the English Channel. Yeah. And they've just smashed into each other.
Yeah, and there's
everything.
Dracarys out in the ocean, burning ships. But that Manzanilla is an exceptional influence on that. And yeah, I absolutely love the Manzanilla influence, eh?
Yeah, I really do. That's a really nice sipping whiskey.
So what we're tasting, sip the 5 and
I think I need
a system.
I need some of that contrast.
Oh. Wow.
And you just hit the back of the throat. Like, it just went straight there.
It's like someone just kicked my nuts. The contrast is massive, isn't it? Like this is like liquid jalapeno chili, man.
Yeah, it is. That's your sriracha.
I mean, this is like I mentioned before, I'm a little bit cynical with it. It's like the 10 is such a good benchmark. Why release the 5? Why release an 8? I mean, don't even get me started on Ardbeg Day releases. I mean, Ardbeg Day releases, like when they first released them, they used to be bloody good. bloody good. And recently, it's a bit hit and miss. You know, the drum. Like, why do they bother with the drum? Anyway, I'm just a little bit. I think it's a bit too much. Too much marketing and too much kind of marketing-driven ideology. I think they need to taper that back, because the chatter out there, people are getting more cynical with it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just what I'm getting out there. The Ardbeg fans that that drink with us, they are getting a bit more jaded and disillusioned with the recent releases.
Right, yeah, because they're all sort of, it's almost, it reminds me of kind of what Highland Park did with all the Viking stuff. And it just became all about the sort of Viking and
they have a paper bag. Oh, that gets me going. There's a paper bag. I'm happy. Yeah.
As opposed to just
definitely.
the whiskey, you know. And that's why I love whiskeys like Aaron and stuff, because it's just like, here's your whiskey.
Yeah.
Here's where it's from.
That's it.
Yeah.
There's no hype. There's no marketing ridiculousness. But look, in saying that, like I said, the Ardbeg Wee Beastie did stand up to its own when we had it by itself. When you side by side it like this, you can really, really taste the moonshine flavor that you make. And it's just like, why did you do it?
Yeah, I still don't mind it. Like, I still think, and I think maybe it's still bottled at quite a good strength. And that sort of thing. And that's what's quite good about Ardbeg, is they're not damping it down to like 40% or anything. So
yeah, and that's definitely a good thing. Definitely a good thing. I mean, like I say, it's a good whiskey. It's a good quality spirit. It's actually a good whiskey for the money. I mean, I'll be neutral on that. It is a good whiskey for the money. You have that in Ardbeg 10, and you have an immediate progression, a vertical. It's pretty cool. But in comparison to the limited release, it's just something else.
Yeah, it's just so rich.
And the mouthfeel is so different with the two. This just lingers. This just coats your palate. And this, like the Laphroaig 10, hit in the face, and it dissipates rapidly. And that's a difference, I guess, with more time in the barrel, perhaps. You're getting more complexity. You're getting more vibrance. I don't know how to describe that.
That's true. And I guess, yeah, for me, what I'm thinking is that, yeah, this one I'm getting more of those barley spirity notes. And obviously, I mean, it's kind of almost obvious in some ways because it's younger. It's been in the cask a short amount of time. Whereas this one, you've got that cask coming in, and it's really sort of converting that spirit into something new. And those sherry casks done something really interesting to it, quite different to what your typical peaty Islay whiskies like your Lagavulin or something, where it's had a bit of sherry influence in it.
That's right.
So it's a bit different than that.
Well, sherry influence as well. What we found, what we found, but apparently this is the reason as well. But during our tastings, we will have some bottlings, same distillery, but we will purposely get a sherry cask and a bourbon cask. Bourbon cask is unforgiving, right? So you have yourself a bourbon cask, and if the spirit is crap or too young or whatever, or the barrel is crap, it is just unforgiving. For bourbon cask, you need to have, this is for single barrels, by the way, you need to have the barrel that's just a perfect storm, and then it'll give you a good end result. I mean, obviously a Wee Beastie, that will be a lot of barrels blended to create a good profile, a smooth profile, so they can then tamper out the kinks in the top and bottom of the flavor profile. So that's slightly different. But with single barrels, bourbon cask is always going to be less forgiving than sherry. So a lot of distilleries will use sherry because they can release it younger, because sherry does influence the flavor a lot more. So, what the sherry is doing is it's hiding and influencing the new make spirit that you would probably taste if it wasn't a sherry cask. And so that mouthfeel you're getting, that's the replacement of what new make might be. That bitterness, that sour, that kind of sharp, minerally taste. Sherry cask tends to just smash that and flatten that.
And maybe that's what's interesting, is even though it's not like the Laphroaig video where it's 10 versus 28, this is still, and it's still a teenage kind of aged whiskey.
Definitely, yeah.
But the sherry's almost made it seem older than that in some ways, because of that complexity there and those different layers.
Definitely.
It's pushed down that spiritiness just that little bit more, as you say.
Also, you got to keep in mind as well, bourbon cask is American oak, and sherry cask is European oak, two different species.
Yeah, true.
One will be more porous than the other, and sherry is most likely going to be more porous than American oak. So what you're getting is the sherry cask is actually influencing it faster over the same time because it's more porous. The spirit can go in and out of the wood faster.
Yeah.
And you have that little bit of sherry probably influence soaked into the wood. That all of that together, it's going to age the whiskey a bit better. And that's why a lot of Speysides are sherry based, because it's just much more palatable.
Yeah, hides that moonshine.
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah. This has been really interesting. Thanks again, Haywood, for coming along, doing this video with me. You can find him on YouTube at Eat Smoke Drink, on Instagram at Eat Smoke Drink. And yeah, above all, make sure you share and enjoy. Cheers.
Cheers.